Hello Capricorn, and welcome to Embrace the Moon Tarot and your September 2017 tarot reading. And I was trying to tap into Capricorn's energy vibrations before I started shuffling, and you know, I feel as a whole, a lot of the readings that I've been doing so far have been just kind of at a pivotal point. And I don't know if it is the after effects of the eclipse that we had, if it's the world as a whole in general, if it's people's personal lives, but you know, it's just kind of, I'm feeling after I say that, and I said all that, and then I started to focus back in on Capricorn, and the first thing that comes to my head was just tapped out. And I don't feel any positive or negative. It's kind of a neutral statement. Tapped out. Just tapped out. I'm just gonna sit here, and when I feel ready to jump back in, I'm going to jump back in. But for now, just, yeah, tapped out. That just keeps coming to my head. So that's what I'm tapping into for Capricorn. So if that is how you feel, this reading is most likely for you, if you're a Capricorn. So let's see what sort of energy and vibrations we can get for you for this month. And I'm doing a little bit of a reading than what I've been doing. And I had started doing this reading because I thought maybe I would shorten my videos. That didn't happen. But I already started, so this is what I'm going with for this month. And can I just say thank you for all of you who have been watching and have been returning and have subscribed and left comments. I fully and truly appreciate it. So, Capricorn. What do we have for you? Past, present, strength, focus. Ooh, shouldn't have moved them down apparently. Potential obstacle and potential future. So let's start with the recent past. I'm going to use the potential obstacle. I'm going to move that right up here for now. And recent past has been Knight of Wands. And I feel this is where some of the energy has come from. In the past, you have felt like you have really had to put some energy into perceiving how you move forward with your life. Decisions that you've made. And I feel that there's a lot of these have to do with health in some way or another, whether they be severe health issues or somewhat minor but still has required you to make some changes of some sort. You've really had to give lots of time and contemplation on the actions that you've had to take, and there's been an overall sense of kind of going to battle in one way or another. Battle with yourself, battle for yourself, whether it be with people in your life who didn't understand and didn't fully accept some of the changes that you've had to implement. Battle with yourself, for yourself, maybe with healthcare providers who maybe didn't take what was going on as seriously as it needed to be taken, and so you had to fight for yourself. But just going into battle in some way or another, and you've had to been really perceptive on how you needed to fight. So there's been a lot of thought process, critical thinking, analyzing the situation, trying to understand what it was that you needed to understand, so that every time that you had to go into battle, you were hopeful that you would come out in some way winning. But it's taking a lot of mental and physical energy because of, like I said, the mental, because of how you had to process all of this before going into battle, while you're into battle, but then the actions that you had to take as a result of it. And even though the Knight of Wands doesn't particularly point in any direction regarding emotions, I feel that there's an underlying concept of emotions regarding that's attached to this because of the fatigue, that mental battles that have been going on, how it can fatigue us emotionally. That's definitely something that has been all kind of wrapped up into one. So that's where you're coming from. And this is in recent past, but it's been a long-term recent past. So it's been kind of ongoing. It's something that has been going on far more than just August. Kind of goes back a little further than just August. But it's being brought up in the recent past because I feel like a lot of it has kind of come to a head. Some realizations have been made, and maybe even some wins in general for you, some personal wins. Maybe you finally got to where some understanding that you've been fighting for has finally come, whether it's been personal understanding for you as far as understanding where you're at, or the healthcare providers that you have been trying to get to see your side or your perspective, so that they will understand and can do what they need to do so that you can make the changes that you need to for your health, or those family members. But it has come to some sort of a head in 1, 2, or all 3 of those aspects. And that depends. That varies on you personally. There are some Capricorns that might just be 1 aspect, some that could be 2 aspects, and some that can be all 3 aspects. But some way or another, that has kind of come to a head, and that's why it's in the recent past. And as a result of it, you do feel like there's a bit of a victory. And we have here, sitting in the 5 of Swords, and there's a bit of a tone that there's a little bit of it being over in some regards. Was it a full win? Was it completely victorious? No, not entirely. And the reason why it's not victorious is contingent on every person. You feel like you've won in the sense that it is finally over. Like I said, things have kind of come to a head. But with each Capricorn, how that is defined is dependent on them personally. So for some of you, it could be that you finally got it. Like I said, your healthcare provider has finally actually understood what it has been that you've been purveying to them, so that they now are able to take care of you the way that you need. Is it going to completely revert everything that you've been battling health-wise? Not necessarily, but now you have a starting point. You might finally have gotten your family members to accept this is the new lifestyle that you have as a result of all of this that you've gone through. But, the battle that you had up to this point has kind of made things a little bit difficult between you two. Whatever the case it may be. And there's so many other scenarios that I can give. If you're a Capricorn and you're living through this, you already had it pop in your head. You know exactly what I mean regarding how it's over, and you've won by the fact that it's over. But there's always with every battle, there's always a loss. So this is in the recent past because you've been exhausted because of the battle that you've been going through, trying to get this to come to a head. And it has finally come to a head. It has come to a point where the fighting can kind of now be over. But with every battle, no matter who wins, there's still a loss. You very rarely do get a kind of victory where everybody wins, and even the winner actually does win. There's always a loss. Even the side that wins still experiences a loss. So that's why the 5 of Swords is sitting there. So you've come to a point where, like I said, it's come to a head and it's over. A lot of the battle that you've had to been undergoing the last couple weeks or months is finally over. And then that means you have won, but, you're still dealing with some of the loss that you experienced as a result of having to do the battle in the first place. So your strength for the month is 5 of Pentacles, and your strength is going to be recognizing where you are tired and depleted, and knowing that you don't have the resources within you to be able to make up for the losses that you've experienced. And when you recognize those losses or those depletion, do what it takes to recharge and get them to a point of being healthier again. Whether it be taking a reprieve when you need to take a reprieve, or reaching out and connecting with somebody that helps you feel stronger. I was trying to think of the word. But knowing when you need to ask for help to recharge, or and it keeps coming up spiritually too. So some of this might be more spiritual than anything, because of the depletion that you've experienced as a result of going through all of this. You just may need a boost spiritually. So it's not necessarily completely physically. I feel like the physical comes in and apart, because when we're going through those kinds of battles or those life issues, we do get physically depleted. And when we're that physically depleted and emotionally and mentally depleted, you know, it's not that our faith suffers, but we certainly get to a point where it's kind of nice to talk to someone who helps to uplift us spiritually. So your strength for the month is to recognize where your depletions lie, whether it is physically or whether it is spiritually, and tend to that. Help to replenish those reserves, and not to use them if you don't have enough to use. So if you're exhausted physically, don't go out looking for something physical to do. Give yourself a break. Allow yourself to replenish that. And spiritually, you know, whenever you're starting to question, or you're feeling a yearning to somehow tap into the faith that you once had, that it's not that you've forgotten it, you just haven't really tapped into it as much as you wished or had used to, and you're kind of missing it. Take the time to, you know, do what it takes to recharge spiritually, whether it is to, you know, be with other beings who have the same spiritual connections and beliefs as you are, so that you can feel recharged and refueled through their enlightenment, or whether it is just you personally doing what it takes to boost yourself spiritually. That is your strength for the month. Recharge and replenish physically. I feel this is both physically and spiritually. Whatever it takes, whatever rest, reprieve, nurturing that you need to do, that's your strength. That's what you should be working on. The obstacle is judgment. And this is you looking back how it once was versus how it is now. And doing the comparison and contrast is going to have you doing some judging on some level. And the obstacle that comes with that is that you could be too hard on yourself. You could be too hard on people around you. And you're better, it'll be easier for you to move on and to move forward in the future, and to move away from all of this that's happened that has already depleted you and exhausted you, if you don't spend too much time thinking and rehashing and judging all of these past occurrences and what they did mean at the time, what they meant in reflection from there to the future, and what they mean to you now, and what they're going to mean to you tomorrow. Sometimes we can get into an inner dialogue regarding past occurrences, and it can block us from growing because we get too focused on woulda, coulda, shoulda. Whether it is us personally or our expectations of other people. But you have a potential through the month of September to start feeling a little bit better, but feeling good enough that you start kind of pondering, all right, I remember this happening and this person didn't do this, or I remember this happening and I felt this way. There's nothing wrong with contemplating and thinking back regarding past experiences and what have you. The problem comes when we give so much focus that it starts to take away from us moving forward. So the reason why this is a possible obstacle is because you have the potential of focusing on it so much so that you're not going to replenishing the reserves that you're supposed to be replenishing that will continue to strengthen you as you move through the month, but you actually have the potential of blocking yourself and even depleting some of the supplies that you have already replenished, or depleting the supplies that you haven't replenished and depleting them even further. So just be careful on how you are overlooking all of these past events. You know, when you start to get to the point where you feel enough energy to kind of rehash and rethink, be careful on your judgment calls regarding all these situations. And if you feel yourself starting to get too bitter, shut it off and go to those reprieves physically or spiritually, and allow yourself some time and space, and maybe review that when you feel even stronger than you are right now, if you need to review them at all. But just be very mindful of your judgment calls when you start kind of contemplating the occurrences that have led up to this point, because it can be an obstacle for you for this month. What you need to focus on is moving forward to peaceful times. And that's why this is an obstacle, because the focus is, again, your strength is going to be feeding yourself, replenishing your physical and spiritual reserves. Your focus needs to be moving to more peaceful times, allowing yourself to be able to move from anything that was not exactly positive through this experience, being able to release it and let it go, and moving to a more peaceful time frame. And you're not going to be able to focus on that if you aren't careful with your judgment call. But that is your focus for the month. You really need to focus on how you can move from this. And what's going to help you is that, like I said, tapping into that replenishing of yourself physically and spiritually, so that you can move on and get past all of this. You know, you've already expended so much energy, and in a sense, all of this that has occurred has robbed you of so much energy. So why give it any more? Why give it more energy, especially when you consider how much it has robbed of you? Why give it any more energy? Why give it permission to have any more energy? Cut off the energy supply by not focusing on it more. Find a way that you can move from this. And I really feel like the way you're going to move from this to a more peaceful time is to focus on replenishing your depleted supplies physically and spiritually. If you manage to figure out a good balance regarding all of that, you have the potential of ending the month of September with the 7 of Coins energy. And for the most part, this kind of depicts the concept of patience and waiting. But I feel in this regard, regarding this reading and everything that I've said up to this point, I feel that it's more of reaching a plateau of being able to be at peace. There's been work that's been done, and there's probably still some things that you're going to have to still work on regarding all of this stuff that's been going on, but you'll get to that plateau of not feeling like you need to do a whole lot of work, that not a lot of work is required of you, which is why you can spend so much time replenishing your supplies, but just feeling that peace that you're supposed to move into, so that you can kind of rest and replenish a little bit. Your work is basically just recuperating. So that is the month of September for you. And I feel that the last couple months have been quite heady in general. It's been quite a lot going on with you anyhow. And I feel that this has just been kind of a continuation, and I do feel this is going to be kind of a wrap-up. Whatever this is that's been going on for you, Capricorns, I don't know. I'm really feeling like there's a really good chance that come October, the reading is going to be on a different topic entirely. You're going to get to a point where you can move from this. And I feel it's because you're, you know, if you do what you're supposed to regarding replenishing your supplies and trying to move away from being too judgmental so that you can move on to peace and get to that plateau of, you know, you don't need to do a lot. The work is done you're at a point where you don't have to do a lot of work, and you're just kind of waiting where the next job comes into play or the next task comes into play. But yes, like I said, it's kind of hitting that plateau, and I feel that that's going to be the end of September. And as a result of that, what you're going to get coming in October is going to be finally a new narrative entirely, which only is all the more reason to do your best to replenish and to move towards peace. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull a final card to kind of wrap this up for you, give you maybe a little mantra, whatever it is that the universe decides to give you from this deck as I shuffle it. But let's see what it has for you. You are light. And this speaks again to that strength. Physically, yes, but most importantly, spiritually. Recognizing who you are on a spiritual level. Recognizing that you are the son or daughter of a great divine. And allowing that to replenish your faith and replenish your core beliefs, and therefore your core strengths. Recognizing the beautiful person you are inside, despite everything that's happened, despite everything that has transpired, despite everything that you feel, even when it's not been the greatest of feelings. You're still light through it all. You've still been light. You are still a source of great divine. The son and daughter of great divine. Tapping into that. That is your, again, like I said, that's your strength. And like I said, I felt it was physical, but there's also a very strong spiritual underlying to that. And that's what's going to help you move into peace. That's what's going to help you get to that point of, you know, that stability where you feel like the task is done and you're at a place of rest before the new task begins again. Tapping into that spiritual connection. That is your strength. That's your mantra. You are light. Think of that. When things get tough, when you're feeling like you're not moving towards peace, when you start feeling like you're getting a little judgy, just remember, I am light. I am light. All right, that is all I have for you, Capricorn, for the month of September. I hope it's a great month. Make it a great month. And hopefully I will see you in October.